Right now on Morning News Now, a heart-wrenching plea for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie, coming straight from Savannah and her family over the weekend.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
We've got the very latest on that investigation, including an apparent second ransom note sent to a local Arizona TV station. Also this morning, a renewed push for transparency taking over the airwaves. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein releasing this powerful PSA during the Super Bowl last night, demanding millions of more files be made public. It comes as top lawmakers on Capitol Hill start to sift through unredacted versions of documents already released by the Justice Department today. And the federal funding fight takes shape over the Trump administration's ongoing immigration crackdown. We've got the latest from Washington. Plus, millions of Americans up and down the East Coast waking up yet again to another bitter blast of cold air, feeling like minus 10 degrees in some spots. So when will Mother Nature finally start to thaw things out? We've got that answer in a moment. And later in the hour, it was a monumental Super Bowl Sunday that had football fans from sea to shining sea tuning in to an absolute clinic doled out by the Seattle Seahawks, putting the New England Patriots on ice. And of course, let's not forget Bad Bunny's halftime show, Stunner, bringing viewers together no matter where they call home. The highlights coming up. Good morning, I'm Christine Romans.
And I'm Jessica Layton. We are here. We are not playing hooky today, even though 26 million Americans will miss work today. Joe and Savannah not playing hooky either. They are on assignment.
We're a little tired, but we are here.
We are. Yeah, we'll just admit it right now.
All right, we begin this morning with that desperate search, the latest on the search for Nancy Guthrie, now entering its second week. The 84-year-old mother of our NBC News colleague, Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from her Arizona home in the dead of night 8 days ago. Authorities believe she was taken against her will, but they still have no suspects.
The FBI continued to search homes connected to the Guthries over the weekend as the family released a new video responding to an apparent second ransom note that was sent to a local TV station by potential kidnappers.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
We should mention the legitimacy of that second ransom note has not been verified as of yet. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more details on the investigation from Tucson. Liz, good morning.
Well, hey there. Good morning, guys. We are now entering day 9 of this search for Nancy Guthrie, and there is still no suspect or person of interest in this case. Over the weekend, investigators again went to Nancy Guthrie's property. They extensively were searching it. Yesterday, they were in the backyard looking into what appeared to be some kind of septic tank or system. And also earlier in the weekend, they were on the roof putting out evidence markers, and they also towed away a car from the garage that's believed to be Nancy's. On Saturday night, authorities were also back at her daughter Annie's home, searching the home there. A spokesperson says that is just part of the normal course of this investigation and case. And this all comes as a local TV station on Friday received a new message. And that prompted, according to authorities, that new video from Savannah on Saturday where she was sitting there with her siblings and they told their mother's possible kidnapper that we understand your message and we are willing to pay. Now, they posted that video despite authorities still not knowing if the ransom note is even real. They also still don't know if the person who sent the original ransom note is actually the same person who sent that new note to the TV station on Friday. There's a lot of questions here, but clearly the family and investigators are trying every avenue that they can right now. As the search continues, investigators are also poring over all of the traffic cameras in the area, and they're also asking local businesses for any of their surveillance footage. A Circle K gas station tells NBC that law enforcement did show up to one of their stores because of a tip about a possible vehicle of interest. But at this time, there is still no confirmed vehicle of interest. And again, no suspect now more than a week into her disappearance. Back to you.
All right, Liz Kreutz, thanks so much. Retired FBI hostage negotiator and CEO of the convincing company, Chip Massey, is here now to help break down some of what we just saw. Chip, good morning. Thanks for being here. What stood out to you about the phrasing in Savannah's most recent message?
Well, the best news that we have is that there was a second note. Whether it's been verified or not, we don't know, but it sounds like it was because the family's responding to it. And what we love about this is that it actually is a response from the family. The family said, we haven't heard from you. We need to hear more from you. Now, clearly, there hasn't been, from what we are able to tell, there's no proof of life yet, and there still isn't a direct means of communication. But the fact that if these are the captors and they've reached out a second time, that's great. Because in hostage negotiation, the key is to keep the lines of communication open. As long as somebody's talking, we're doing okay.
So let's talk about the negotiation process. We've been watching this play out in public. What is it like at this point? You talked about proof of life and a direct line to the kidnappers or the hostage takers. We don't know that has happened, the actual direct line and the proof of life. So what is normally happening right now or should be happening?
Well, what they're doing is they are taking every bit of information that the captors are sending them in those emails. They're parsing through every word. And what they're doing is making sure that the family has an understanding of what that might convey. So when they're putting together those messages, when Savannah's reading them, it's very purposeful. She's actually responding to the captor, something that the captors have said in those messages that only they know and law enforcement know about.
When we look at the fact that there has been no open line of direct communication yet, at what point do you think authorities say, you know what, this isn't real, or we're not going to legitimize this? And at what point do you determine that?
The problem with that is that the captors, just like you pointed out, the captors are in control right now.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating and difficult at the same time. So I'm wondering, and I'm sure you all are wondering, like, that they likely didn't think it was going to go on this long.
Right.
And so what they were trying to do was get a quick money grab and probably get out. That was their plan. Now we're on all these days into it. Their world is starting to close up around them. They need to reach out to the family more and discuss what's happening.
Thank you so much for your expertise. CEO of the convincing company, Chip Massey, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
This morning, Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill are locked in a standoff over changes to immigration enforcement. Congress now has just a week to come to a compromise on the list of 10 demands that Democrats have in order to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Now, meanwhile, members of Congress are set to get a fresh look at the Epstein investigation today, with lawmakers now able to review the unredacted documents and photos that the Justice Department recently released. It comes as the survivors of Epstein's abuse are making a new and very public call for accountability. NBC News reporter Ellis Barr has the latest from Washington now. Ellis, good morning.
Good morning, Jessica. Lawmakers have serious questions about what the Justice Department chose to redact and why, looking for answers today as they begin reviewing unredacted Epstein files and see an appearance from Epstein's jailed accomplice. This morning, a renewed spotlight on the Jeffrey Epstein files, with a group of survivors appearing in a powerful PSA during the Super Bowl.
We're standing together.
Standing together. Because this girl deserves the truth.
The video points to the 3 million files still not released and calls on viewers to demand transparency from the Attorney General. Starting today, members of Congress can begin reviewing the unredacted version of the millions of pages the Justice Department has released on the late sex offender. Lawmakers coming armed with questions.
Where are the rest of the documents? Why did they release victims' names?
Members of the House Oversight Committee also getting a look today at Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, who's set to be deposed in a virtual appearance from the Texas prison camp where she's serving her 20-year sex trafficking sentence. Her attorneys have told the committee she plans to plead the Fifth and won't answer questions. It all comes as lawmakers are facing down a Friday deadline when the Department of Homeland Security is set to run out of funding unless negotiators can reach agreement on reforms to ICE and Border Patrol's immigration enforcement.
They've gone way too far
and the American people want them reined in.
Republicans have signaled openness to some Democrat demands, calling others non-starters.
I'll tell you what's not going to be in there: amnesty for illegal aliens. I'll tell you what's not going to be there: stripping away protections for law enforcement officers that are trying to protect themselves.
Pressure building in a big week on Capitol Hill.
According to a letter obtained by NBC News, lawmakers will be able to review the material from the Epstein files on Justice Department computers, but not the physical documents themselves. And they're allowed to take notes, but cannot use any electronic devices to capture what they're seeing. Jessica.
All right, Alice, thank you. And staying in Washington, despite the pressure you might feel on your own wallet when you go to the grocery store or even go to pay your bills, President Trump is taking ownership of the current U.S. economy, saying he's very proud of it.
He made these comments in an exclusive interview with NBC Nightly news anchor Tom Yamas, which aired during the Super Bowl. The president said the economy is doing so well, in fact, Democrats are abandoning their recent message about an affordability crisis ahead of this year's midterm elections.
In the last 4 days, it's only 4 days, the Democrats have not uttered the word affordability. They're the ones that caused the problem. I took over a mess in every way.
At what point is it on you? At what point are we in the Trump economy?
Oh, I'd say we're there now. I'm very proud of it, 5.6%. You know, we have a GDP of 5.6 despite a shutdown. We had a 42-day shutdown. I call it the Democrat shutdown. And because of that, I lost 1.5 points. I would have been at a 7 GDP, which hasn't been seen, I don't know, ever maybe.
For more now, let's bring in NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz. Megan, good morning. How does what we heard from President Trump about the economy in that interview just now compare with the data being released from his own government agencies, and give us a sense of how most Americans are feeling?
Yeah, good morning. So the bottom line here is that it's significant that the president is taking credit for the economy right now, because voters don't necessarily seem to be approving of the economy right now. I want to point you to a new poll that came out this month. It's an NPR, Marist, PBS poll survey that came out that said that 36% of adults said that they approve of the president's handling of the economy. At the same time, though, take a look at that. 59% disapprove of the economy. Now, at the same time, you heard the president talk about some of these statistics that are coming out of his department. Now, I want to point you to Labor Department statistics from the third quarter of this last year that show that the economy grew at a strong annualized rate of 4.4%. Now, all of this really matters because, you know, when we get into elections, the economy is consistently a top issue for voters. It was a top issue in the last election. It's expected to continue to be a top issue as we get into the midterm elections this fall. And guys, I know that we're only in February. It feels like we have a long time to go, but we are starting to get more into that midterm campaign season when voters are going to be, you know, particularly focused on what this feels like in their pocketbook and on their bottom line for their own household money.
And Megan, the numbers tell a different story. The government's own numbers on, for example, grocery prices. And this has been something that's been a real bone of contention for American consumers. I mean, a Pew number just a couple of days ago said that 66% of Americans say that prices are too high. Grocery prices up more than 2% over the past year, up 25% over 5 years. The president says he could lower those grocery prices overnight, but that hasn't happened.
Yeah, so he talked about in that interview, you know, some prices that have gone down. Things like the cost of eggs in the time that he's been in office, that has gone down about 30%. Now, NBC, though, has been tracking, you know, regular things that you would pick up at the grocery store, and there are a whole lot of prices that have gone up. You know, things like ground beef, that's up more than 15%. Orange juice, that's up more than 28% since President Trump has been in office. That's according to this NBC tracker. So, you know, when you're at the grocery store, a lot of people in polling and people that NBC has talked to over the course of the last year are saying, hey, you know, rising prices are having an impact on their bottom line. And it's certainly something that the White House and politicians throughout Washington are really going to be focused on as we get closer to the midterm elections later this year.
And Megan, while we have you, we want to mention the fact that President Trump also weighed in over the weekend on something an Olympic skier said. American Hunter has said Friday that representing the U.S., quote, brings up mixed emotions, adding, just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. We think that he was referring to the recent immigration crackdown and the controversy surrounding ICE. What was the president's reaction on that?
Yeah, so Hunter Hess in that interview had also told reporters at the same time that there's a lot going on in the country that he's not the biggest fan of. Now, he did not go into specifics, but, you know, as you mentioned, this comes as there's this massive immigration crackdown in the country that's pretty controversial. So President Trump took to Truth Social to criticize the Olympian. I want to point you to what he had to say. He called Hunter Hess, the Olympian, a real loser. He said that he doesn't represent his country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he shouldn't have tried out for the team, and it's too bad he's on it. Very hard to root for someone like this. So a very strong reaction and a very unusual reaction from the President of the United States to a member of, the country's own Olympics team, as the Olympics are, right in the middle of it and still ongoing here, guys.
All right, Megan Leibowitz, great to have you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Megan. A seemingly endless cold snap still gripping the Northeast this morning. Millions waking up to yet another morning of brutally low temperatures after coping with the coldest weekend of the season. Cold alerts are in place, coupled with gusty winds of up to 25 miles per hour that'll make it even feel colder, closer to 10 below in some spots. Temperatures stay well below average today, but we do start to see some improvement, I promise, maybe, as we head through the week.
With that, let's bring in NBC meteorologist Andrea Romero, Andrea, we need some good news. Give us the good news.
I do have some good news, a little bit of good news, but it's good news nonetheless. This morning, though, temperatures are obviously not as cold as that brutal cold that we had this weekend over parts of the Northeast into the Mid-Atlantic, but we do continue with around 61 million people being impacted by these cold advisories with temperatures that are still going to be feeling below zero, as we can see in parts of New England, stretching into the Mid-Atlantic. We're looking at temperatures that are 1 below here in Altoona, in New York as well. Atlantic City, 5 degrees below zero. In Cleveland, 4 degrees below zero this morning. Now, today, we are expecting the temperatures to be close to the freezing point in many locations. Of course, the wind chill will make it feel still colder, 10 to 15 degrees below average, the temperatures. But we do begin to see a warm up, especially for midweek. And that's because we have that record warm temperature that is occurring over the central part of the country. And some of that warmth, that spring warmth, will be spreading on into the west. And we're looking at temperatures that are going to be above average, eventually moving into closer here, the Mid-Atlantic. And in the Northeast will probably be closer to average by midweek. So we're looking at temperatures that will be 19 degrees above average in St. Louis with 60 degrees. We're going to be hitting close to 80 degrees today in parts of Texas. So it's definitely a warm up in that area. But with the warmth, the low humidity, and also the gusty downsloping winds in the high plains, we do have that fire danger with those red flag warnings extending all the way from Nebraska into the Texas panhandle. Now, as far as systems, we have a wintry mess that it will be targeting parts of the northern Great Lake regions. A little bit of snow also will linger over the northern Rockies today. Tomorrow, snow will filter across the Northeast, a little bit of snow, some rain along the southern plains, and then Wednesday we'll have some rumbles of thunder in the south, as well as a little bit of snow in the Northeast. And then we have that active system in the West Coast. Tomorrow we could see some rain in Northern California.
Well, I can't tell you how jealous I was looking at the weather at the Super Bowl yesterday.
Me too.
Friends were sending pictures. Oh, it was so like, I don't need to see this.
But I'm so happy they had great weather over there.
Good for them,
yes,
as I like to say. Thank you, Andrea. Vaughn is recovering from an injury that has ended her Olympic comeback at these games. Just 13 seconds into the women's downhill event on Sunday, Vaughn hit a flag on a turn and suffered a devastating fall. It is the second week in a row where the skiing legend had to be airlifted off the slopes after a crash. This morning, reports indicate that Vaughn broke her left leg and needed surgery to stabilize it. The Associated Press and Reuters also quoting representatives from the hospital as saying Vaughn had surgery on her broken leg. And that is the same side as her torn ACL, which she suffered 9 days earlier in a training run before the games. This is a heartbreaking moment for the 41-year-old who was trying to become the oldest alpine skier, man or woman, to win an Olympic medal. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the simple blood test that could map out your risk of developing heart disease before problems even start to show.
But first, after the break, chaos over a critical border crossing in the Middle East. The delays reportedly plaguing Palestinians and how Israeli officials are responding to this latest controversy. That's next. Stick with us. And we are back with news from the Middle East. The Rafah crossing in Gaza reopened Sunday after confusion over reopening operations closed the critical border point on Friday and Saturday. Egyptian state media reported that a limited number of Palestinians were able to travel through that Rafah crossing on Sunday following a 2-day closure.
The critical border crossing was reopened for the first time since last week, since 2024, as a key requirement of the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal. But the rollout has been shaky, and Palestinians who returned to Gaza in the first few days of the reopening described hours of delays and invasive searches by Israeli authorities.
NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Matt. The Rafah crossing reopened last week, part of that ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Less than a week into its reopening, the border point closed for 2 days. Why did the Rafah crossing close, and how is that affecting Gazans seeking medical care outside of the Strip?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of unclear exactly why it closed. It's unclear why there were so many delays in processing Palestinians who were trying to cross both ways over this border. There were really formidable security challenges blocking some of these Palestinians from moving either out of Gaza or from Egypt and into Gaza. And a lot of Palestinians who are desperately seeking medical care have been very disappointed by the long delays. As you mentioned, there are tens of thousands of people who are desperately trying to leave the Gaza Strip in order to seek medical care abroad. There's also quite a few people who are trying to enter the Gaza Strip after having sought medical care outside of the enclave and are now trying to return home to their families. Now, all in all, in the first week, we've only seen about 36 people crossing. That is, and in terms of medical patients, and then there were dozens more. That is very, very low, considering that the original promise for opening the crossing to both traffic directions was that 50 people would cross in either direction. So clearly, we're still seeing quite a few complications here.
And Matt, in terms of the Palestinians who say they were mistreated by Israeli officials, what can you tell us about what exactly is happening on the ground, and has the IDF or other Israeli officials responded yet?
Well, this is a very, very sensitive issue, the Rafah border crossing. It isn't a surprise that the Israelis would be using their utmost security prevention procedures when it comes to dealing with people who are crossing back and forth. That having been said, there were complaints from people, as you mentioned, saying that the treatments and the security procedures were invasive, that they lasted for hours, that they were sort of crude and rude in their dealing with some of the Palestinians. So this is the kind of thing that isn't necessarily going to surprise a lot of Palestinians who live in Gaza. They knew that there were going to be serious restrictions, and there were serious restrictions in the run-up to actually moving across the border. You know, a lot of these Palestinians had to apply for access, and that access wasn't always given.
Matt, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to travel to Washington this week. He's going to meet with the president. His office said talks will focus on Iran. Last week, the U.S. conducted indirect talks with the Iranians, which seemed like a diplomatic step forward. Do we have any sense of what Netanyahu's message with President Trump will be?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be focused mostly, as you said, on Iran rather than on issues like the ceasefire and the Gaza Strip, though those will certainly be part of those meetings we can expect. The real issue here is that President Donald Trump has been threatening, as you know, Iran over the past 2 weeks, mostly in regard to the protests that have since stopped in Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu is also going to be paying very close attention to those negotiations that you mentioned that already started in a good way. Now, he's going to be asking President Trump to make sure that it's not just the nuclear topic that he's talking about, but also Iran's ballistic missiles, one of the major issues in these negotiations and one of the things that the Trump administration has listed in terms of what they want to see the Iranians give up. They want to see the Iranians limit the scope and the distance those ballistic missiles can travel so that they won't hit here once again, as they did last year, here in Israel.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you so much, Matt. Coming up, could a simple blood test predict your risk of developing heart disease later in life?
Well, when we come back, we are digging into a promising new study revealing how one rarely used method here in America could flag some problems before they even start. The doctor is in next. We're back with some new research that could help people better manage their risk of heart disease. Nearly 90% of Americans over 20 years old are at risk of developing heart disease. That's according to the JAMA network.
Now, one major risk factor is a type of cholesterol called low-density lipoprotein. You've heard of this as LDL, or bad cholesterol. It's something many people are already screened for during their yearly physicals. Now, a new study suggests there might be a different blood test that could better predict a person's risk of developing heart disease before problems even start.
NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Sayal joins us now with more on this. Dr. Sayal, good morning. First of all, 90% of us being at risk kind of scared me, right? Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for men and women in the U.S., and tens of millions of Americans are currently living with heart disease. So what is this blood test that could help flag it earlier, and how does it work?
Good morning. You know, I'm so excited we are talking about this because this is one of the most common questions I get from my patients. I will oftentimes walk into the exam room, and patients have started asking me about this off the top, and a lot of my colleagues who I talk to for the story are hearing the same thing. And so what is this test, right? It's, when we go in for a physical, a lot of us get our cholesterol checked, and you probably heard the quote-unquote bad cholesterol, the LDL that you referenced in the intro there. Well, this test is called apolipoprotein B. It's actually, it's a little bit complicated, but the best way to explain it is it actually provides a better picture of bad cholesterol than actually testing for that LDL. And it turns out ApoB is actually measuring a protein on all of the bad cholesterol in the body, and it really provides a much better risk of somebody, of sort of getting an idea of who might be at a greater risk of a heart attack. And it's not something that we really test for regularly, so definitely important to bring up with your doctor, guys.
Yeah, so despite how effective it can be at predicting the risk, this blood test is rarely used in the U.S. According to the American Journal for Predictive Cardiology, less than 1% of adults have been tested for ApoB. So why? What's holding it back?
Christine, I wish I had a good answer for you. I was talking to a lot of our preventive cardiology colleagues, and really what they're saying is, LDL is sort of the way it's always been done. If you go back decades, we've been testing for LDL, that bad cholesterol. But Christine, the reason why it's important to do both of these is because, some people may have a normal LDL or a normal bad cholesterol, and then their ApoB is high, which means that they would be at a risk of a heart disease or a stroke and really not know about it. It's something that we call discordance, meaning that the LDL and the ApoB aren't quite matching up. And if you're somebody who's overweight, somebody who has insulin resistance, you are more likely to have that mismatch. So definitely talk to your doctor, particularly if you have a family history of heart disease.
We want to mention that insurance will cover the test in some cases. If not, it's about $70, give or take. Doctor, who needs to get this? Who needs to be going to their physician and saying, I really want this blood test?
The problem is we don't really have good guidelines about who should be getting this. And the cholesterol guidelines, I should just point out, are due for an update here in Q1 of 2026. So we are waiting to see what they say. But we don't really have clear guidance as doctors on who should be getting this. And so some answers I heard in reporting the story, anybody on a statin, anybody on a cholesterol-lowering medication should be getting this. Some doctors will check everyone, frankly. I talked to a preventive cardiologist in UT Southwestern who orders this on all her patients. I talked to another one who orders it as a one-time screen. So, the point being, we don't really have a good answer. So what I would say is if you have a family history or if you are somebody who is on medication already to lower your cholesterol, a great idea to get this test. And, you mentioned usually insurance does cover it, but if not, it tends to be about $60 or $70 at a lab.
And Dr. Sayal, what other tests should people know about, and how do they compare with ApoB?
So two other things, Christine. LPA, Lp(a) or lipoprotein A is a genetic risk factor or genetic marker for heart disease. I recommend everyone get that at least once. And then also a calcium score. A lot of my patients are asking me about, we can put patients into a CT scan and actually get a sense of how much plaque is in the arteries of their heart, really with the goal of preventing any sort of heart disease down the line. We really have some incredible tools available to us. So talk to your doctor if you are worried about heart disease.
Down, especially the calcium score. Dr. Sayal, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, great advice. Thanks, Doc. All right, in Australia, a 13-year-old being hailed as a hero for saving his mother and two younger siblings after all of them were swept out to sea while on vacation. Now, the young boy set aside his fears and he swam more than 2 miles in choppy waters to get help for his family. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has a look at this story of perseverance and survival.
This is the moment a harrowing nightmare for a mother and her young children remarkably came to an end.
I just said, all right, not today, not today, not today. I have to keep on going.
Austin Appleby, his mother, and 2 younger siblings were paddleboarding and kayaking while on vacation in southwestern Australia Friday when police say rough conditions swept them out to sea. His mother, Joanne, was faced with the unimaginable, trying to save 13, 12, and 8-year-old children. Austin is the oldest.
One of the hardest decisions I ever had to make was to say to Austin, try and get to shore and get some help. This could get really serious really quickly.
Austin raced toward shore on a kayak, but police say it took on water. So he swam roughly 2.5 miles to dry land.
I was really scared. I was just thinking in my head, like thinking I was going to make it through.
And 4 hours after he set out, Austin says he made it to shore, only to then have to sprint over a mile to get to a phone.
I said, I need helicopters, I need planes, I need boats. My family's out at sea. I was very calm about it. I think it was just a lot of shock, like just went through my mind.
Rescue 1, can you advise if there are any injuries of the people you have on board? Over.
About 2.5 hours after police got the alert, this rescue helicopter crew spotted Austin's mother, brother, and sister clinging to a paddleboard.
I thought they were dead. I had a lot of guilt in my heart. Because, I thought, oh man, I wasn't fast enough.
But now, the family's together again.
I'm speechless at his efforts, but at the same time, I knew he could do it.
I can't be prouder to be his younger brother.
Oh, what a story. All right, Jesse Kirsch, thank you for that.
Let's turn from summer in the southern hemisphere to the icy landscape here in the northern hemisphere, where massive crowds of tourists are heading to the U.S.-Canada border to see what is a winter wonder. The frigid temperatures there have partially frozen Niagara Falls, creating these jaw-dropping cascades of ice. NBC News meteorologist Chase Kane has a closer look at these stunning views.
A natural wonder of the world turning into a real-life wonderland. With tourists flocking to the U.S.-Canadian border battling frigid temperatures to catch a glimpse of a partially frozen Niagara Falls.
We never thought about coming here in the winter. It seemed like a crazy idea, but it's beautiful.
The frozen cascades stunning visitors at this unlikely cold weather destination.
It's chilly, but it's beautiful. It's definitely a gem.
And while these formations might make it look like the falls are completely iced over, the strong currents of more than 20 million gallons every minute, too powerful to freeze completely, still flow underneath the frozen layer of mist and spray. But the so-called ice bridge can reach up to 10 stories tall, according to Niagara Parks. The river only completely halting once in 1848, blocked by an ice jam. But the spectacle enduring for over a century, like this severe winter in 1904, again in 1934.
Niagara Falls was brought almost to a standstill.
And more recently during the polar vortexes of 2014 and 2015.
They're even more beautiful frozen than in the summertime.
Today, the frozen falls can only be safely observed at a distance.
The way everything's kind of frozen over, it all looks really nice.
And those that make the trek fall for its beauty. Chase Kane, NBC News.
Coming up, wow. Sorry, I jumped on you. Cold. Yes, very cold, enough said. The curtains open on Milan Cortina with triumph and heartbreak for Team USA.
How superstar of the slopes Breezy Johnson managed to pull America's first gold medal moments after teammate Lindsey Vohn's brutal downhill crash. We'll take it to Italy. All right, welcome back. The Super Bowl being held in the Bay Area put a spotlight on the city of San Francisco, which of course struggled economically coming out of the pandemic. But now it seems to be on the rebound. Not too long ago, the city was in a so-called doom loop of surging crime and a dropping population. But now, as NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson shows us, the city may have reversed that into a boom loop.
It wasn't that long ago that it felt like San Francisco was fighting for its life.
First, it was doom loop before you took office, and now it's boom loop, or it's being called the boom loop. Do you agree with that terminology? What do you think of that headline, and how do you affect it?
I say we're a city on the rise, and I always say, let's go San Francisco. If people want to say boom loop, I'll take that over what was being said before.
We explored that doom loop in 2023 on this show.
Doom loop could kill off the city's downtown.
In the wake of the pandemic, office work went remote, foot traffic vanished, and many businesses shuttered, hollowing out San Francisco's once bustling downtown. Property crime spiked while open-air drug use and homelessness surged. Enter the so-called doom loop and a spiraling sense of pessimism.
It was like living on a movie set. That was all boarded, a World War III movie. Everything was boarded up.
The ad for this tour says it'll go through, for example, open-air drug markets.
But recently, residents say there's been a big vibe shift, and the city has the stats to back it up. According to SFPD data, crime was down nearly 25% in 2025 compared to the year before. Motor vehicle thefts, a major issue here, were down a whopping 43%, with burglaries and retail theft way down too. To be clear, crime has been falling steadily in San Francisco since its peak in 2022, similar to the rest of the country. But last year, the city's homicide rate at its lowest since 1954.
The vibes are back in San Francisco. Good vibes are back. We had a great first year. 1 year of momentum's not enough. Now it's time to put our foot on the accelerator. Thank you for being out here. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Since taking office a little over a year ago, Lurie says he's been laser focused on issues that matter to San Franciscans, starting with crime, surging more officers to highly visited areas like Union Square, and tackling those so-called quality of life crimes, all while focusing on high-tech solutions to dial in on problem spots. Part of that vision, SFPD's state-of-the-art real-time investigation center.
It's got a capability to live feed to our officers on the ground, give them the situational awareness that they need.
Commander Thomas McGuire says dozens of digital age operators use a fleet of cameras and drones to catch crooks.
We're catching them faster, we're detecting them faster, and if we don't catch them, the investigative evidence that we're capturing is so much better now.
And maybe most importantly, it's not just the data. People we spoke to say the idea of a boom loop is something they can actually feel.
Yeah, there's an energy that's kind of, coming back a little bit, especially in this part of the city.
Among the challenges, the city's still troubling commercial vacancy rate of more than 30%, stores and office buildings sitting empty. And years after Westfield walked away from the once historic San Francisco Center Mall, citing slow sales, foot traffic, and crime, it finally just shut down. The mayor admits there's still a lot of work to do.
We need to fill these empty storefronts that we have along Market Street, in the Tenderloin, in so much. But I'll take the boom loop over what was being said prior.
And while some like to hate on this city by the bay, most will probably root for its resurgence. Steve Patterson, NBC News, San Francisco.
Very cool. And back here on the East Coast, there are even more changes happening over at the Washington Post following that controversial round of layoffs.
NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has your Money Minute. Good post-Super Bowl Monday.
Yeah,
Allie?
post-Super Bowl Monday, we're all still recovering,
yes,
right,
yes.
Christine? But we do have another shakeup at the Washington Post. Publisher and CEO Will Lewis is stepping down just days after the newsroom faced mass layoffs. CFO and former Tumblr boss Jeff D'Onofrio is set to take over on an interim basis. The Post Guild blamed leadership for the upheaval, while owner Jeff Bezos said the paper still has a, quote, essential journalistic mission. Meanwhile, a food safety alert for Costco shoppers. The chain is recalling certain mini caramel beignets over an undeclared hazelnut allergen. It's a Class 1 recall, meaning there is a risk of serious harm for people with allergies. For more details, check out Costco's product recall website. And finally, a Super Bowl ad showdown between two AI rivals. ChatGPT maker OpenAI and Google-backed Anthropic took opposite approaches with their respective commercials this year. Anthropic poked fun at ads running on chat models, a subtle dig at ChatGPT, while OpenAI went a little bit more earnest, urging viewers to build and create using AI. And guys, I may or may not have passed out at 8 p.m. last night and missed a lot of these commercials. However, it is interesting to see the AI boom and how it's integrated in our lives now and now showing up on the world's biggest stage.
Absolutely. All right, Allie Canal,
I can't help it sometimes.
No, it's okay. We're exhausted today. It's okay.
And the game was a little bit boring, I got to say. But, you know, Seahawks took the win. But
I made it through Bad Bunny. And then I was like, I'm out.
I made it through everything, which is why I have lots of coffee next to me here today that you just can't see. Thanks, Allie.
All right, coming up, we'll go to Milan for the latest from the Olympics. And it turns out a simple picture can truly be worth 1,000 words, or in this case, barks.
Woofs. So when Morning News Now returns, the viral post on social media that's now giving oodles of poodles a chance at their new forever home in one Indiana town. That's next. Stay with us.
It was an opening weekend of highs and lows for Team USA at the Milan Cortina Olympics. This morning, gold medalist Lindsey Vonn is recovering from surgery after breaking her leg in a brutal crash yesterday.
That was difficult, but her teammate Breezy Johnson ended up taking gold in the same event before having an unfortunate little mishap with her medal.
Okay, we're going to learn about that. Let's check in with NBC News correspondent Jay Gray, who is in Milan now and joins us with the latest. Okay, so let's start with Lindsey Vonn, though. She's already trying to ski on one good knee and then this crash where she was airlifted Sunday. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, amazing. And it wasn't the knee. You know, she got out of the gate and was headed down the mountain when a pole caught one of the gates early in her run, threw her off balance, and that's when the crash happened. We're told that she is resting right now and in good hands, that according to the Italian officials here. I think it's important to remember as we look at this that this is an Olympic champion. This is someone who is one of the best to ever do it for Team USA skiing and likely ending her career on the mountain that brought her back, the one that she said she wanted to come back and race again for Team USA because she loved the course in Cortina, her favorite course. So a tough go, but a lot of people really with mixed emotions after what happened yesterday. Great for Team USA winning the gold, but so tough for such a tough competitor.
Oh, that was so difficult. We were all cheering for her. But Jay, staying with skiing in that same event that cost Vonn so much, Breezy Johnson won the first gold medal of these games for the Team USA, but her medal's already in need of repair. What happened?
Yeah, right. That sounds like something I would do. I would get something great like that and break it right away. She got the medal. She said she was jumping around. She was so excited. It fell off the ribbon and a chunk of it broke off. She said, I'm sure they'll fix it. She was still so excited that she didn't seem that worried about the situation. She said, don't jump. If you win a gold medal, don't jump. But she was so excited to win that. Remember, this is someone who just a week or so before the games in Beijing was injured, knee injury on the course here in Cortina, and missed those games. So what a redemption story for her.
Oh, wow. Good luck. She must be so happy.
Yeah,
you know,
amazing.
Broken medal or not, she must be so happy. I know, Jay, you love the Winter Games. What are you looking forward to watching today?
Well, I loves me some curling, and they are going where no mixed doubles team has ever gone. They're in the medal round now, so I'm excited about that. I may be one of a few that's excited about that. But look, you've got the women's hockey team that is on fire to start this tournament, 2-0, and they beat those two opponents by a combined score of 10-1. They take on Switzerland, and then the dynamic duo of Madison Chock, Evan Bates, ice dancing underway starting today. They've got to be looking to the top of the podium, ladies, because they are the defending world champions 3 times running. So I'm looking forward to seeing them.
All right, Jay Gray, best assignment in news
He
right now.
always gets the best assignment.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Nice to see you.
Now that the games are in high gear, let's get a closer look at one of the top fan favorites at the Winter Games, which is snowboarding. Now, those events kicked off last Thursday, and so far, Switzerland is dominating the medal stand. NBC News chief data analyst Steve Kornacki breaks down everything to expect in Olympic snowboarding, from the races to the tricks, in his latest episode of Keeping Score with Kornacki.
And for our next Olympic sport, we're shredding the slopes. We're heading high into the Alps for, you guessed it, Olympic snowboarding. 11 medal events over the course of 2 weeks. All right, snowboard cross and parallel giant slalom, they are the two head-to-head racing events, and scoring in them is pretty simple. Whoever crosses the finish line first wins. Now, in cross, 4 athletes compete in a series of elimination rounds. They race each other down a course filled with jumps and other obstacles. Photo finishes are not uncommon at all, like this one in Beijing in 2022. Now, when it comes to parallel giant slalom, the elimination rounds are all one-on-one. The event is actually very similar to its alpine skiing counterpart, giant slalom. The competitors have to maintain really fast speeds as they navigate more than 25 gates as they fly down the hill. Now, lately, when it comes to gold medals in parallel giant slalom, Switzerland has been the dominant country. And when you consider that Switzerland shares the Alps with Italy, at these games, home slope advantage might be a factor. All right, half pipe, slope style, big air, we're going to call these our trick events. They are all about pushing the limits of what is possible on a snowboard. In slope style, competitors are thrown onto a course with obstacles. They string together tricks and they earn points for creative and technical ability. And then there is that iconic Winter Olympic event, half pipe, creativity, air time, and degree of difficulty. These are the ingredients for a gold in half pipe. The USA's Chloe Kim is a 2-time defending gold medalist in the sport, but she suffered a dislocated shoulder in the run-up to these games. She says she's going to try to make a go of it in Milan Cortina, but that could complicate her quest for a three-peat. And then there's my favorite, big air. Massive jumps capture the gold here. In 2022, China's Su Yiming won gold in big air by executing an 1800. What on earth is an 1800? Well, it is 360 degrees done 5 times, 5 full rotations, all in the air to win gold in 2022. And if you think that was impressive, you should have seen the move that won at the X Games last year in big air. It was a 2340. Want to do the math on that one? That would be 6.5 full rotations, all in the air. Are we going to see someone do even better than that at Milan Cortina? And those are our 5 snowboarding events. Keep watching as we break down more sports from the Winter Games.
Steve Kornacki, thank you. And you can catch all of the best Olympic action on Primetime in Milan, hosted by Mike Tirico, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC and streaming on Peacock.
Okay, so we end this hour in Indiana, where one viral photo of a litter of puppies turned into a wildly popular adoption event.
The Humane Fort Wayne shelter welcomed hundreds of prospective pet parents after their social media post got more than 500,000 views. Reporter Lyric Powell from our Indiana station has a closer look at the Poodle Palooza.
A cold start to the morning as people wait to find out if they're going home with a new friend. It all began with a simple photo shared online. A litter of puppies riding together in a wagon.
In the 9 years that I've been with Humane Fort Wayne, we have never had a set of dogs, a social post go so viral. A couple of weeks ago, we just thought it was cute that there were a whole bunch of puppies in a wagon.
She says the post had over 520,000 views, leading to the shelter creating the event Poodle Palooza.
It's been a 2-week process getting everything ready, but the commitment and the dedication of the people who came today is absolutely amazing. We're just excited to have these guys have great homes.
Even the winter travel advisory didn't slow people down. Among those waiting, a young couple from Toledo, Ohio. The pair booked a hotel in town and got here at 3 a.m.
We knew, from the beginning, whatever weather we could power through.
Andrew Helgren and his fiancee Carison Gladney recently bought their first home and plan to adopt a pet later this year. But plans changed when they saw this picture.
It took no less than 30 seconds. We both were like, yeah, absolutely. Now it's an early wedding gift.
After more than 5 hours of waiting, the Ohio couple were paired with a puppy that couldn't be any more of a Hoosier if he tried. His name? Signetti.
We've been thinking about this forever. Kirsten and I are so excited to bring home, another or a puppy to our house.
From a viral photo to a forever home, Signetti and his new family proved that sometimes the best things in life are worth the wait.
Sometimes you just need pictures of a lot of poodles, you know?
Just to get you through a Monday. Exactly.
You're welcome, everyone. Thanks to Lyric Powell for that report. The Humane Shelter says all 5 poodles were adopted, calling the Poodle Palooza a huge success.
It looks like it was. And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now. And good Monday morning. I'm Christine Romans.
And I'm Jessica Layton. We are in for Joe and Savannah. Right now on Morning News Now, search for answers. It has been more than a week of searching for Nancy Guthrie, and authorities say there are still no suspects or persons of interest. Our NBC colleague Savannah Guthrie shared a new message over the weekend directly addressing her mother's possible captors. We'll bring you her heart-wrenching words and the latest on that investigation. Meanwhile, in Washington, under review, several members of Congress will be given access to unredacted versions of the publicly released Epstein files today. Lawmakers will be able to review the files connected to the convicted sex offender on their own amid questions over what the Justice Department chose to redact and why. It comes as survivors of Epstein's abuse are demanding more transparency from the government. Their message is coming up. Plus, Super Bowl 60. We have got all the highlights from the big game that made the Seattle Seahawks the new reigning NFL champions. And, of course, that halftime performance that had fans across the world up on their feet, dancing along to the music, and the messages of unity, the night's biggest moments, next. And a little later in the hour, Going for Gold will bring you live to Milan Cortina, where some of the best athletes in the world are competing for that coveted Olympic gold medal. And we'll chat with Team USA's first medalist of these Olympic Games. So a lot to get to, but we begin this hour with the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie. It has now been more than a week, as we know, since the mother of our NBC colleague, Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from her home in Tucson, Arizona.
Despite a multi-agency effort, including help from the FBI, authorities say there is still no suspect or person of interest in this case. Over the weekend, Savannah posted a new video appealing to her mother's potential captors after a ransom note was sent to a local TV station.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Now, we should mention the legitimacy of that ransom note has not been verified. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the latest from Tucson. Liz, good morning.
Well, hey there, good morning. In that new heart-wrenching video from Savannah, she tells her mother's possible kidnappers that she and her siblings understand their message and that they are willing to pay. This despite authorities still not even knowing if that ransom note is even real. But the timing is notable as the note does have a final deadline on it for today.
This morning, authorities still trying to find answers more than a week now since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from her Tucson home. Over the weekend, the FBI and sheriff's deputies again extensively searching Nancy's property, yesterday examining what appears to be a septic tank in her backyard, and earlier in the weekend towing a car out of her garage believed to be Nancy's. Authorities also searching the home of her daughter Annie, a spokesperson saying that was part of the normal course of their case. As investigators continue to search, on Saturday, Savannah posted a new video along with her siblings with this message for their mom's possible captors.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
3 officials tell NBC News this is in response to a new note that was sent Friday to a local Tucson TV station. The station saying the message did not include proof of life. NBC News has not seen the new note, and authorities are still trying to verify if it was actually sent by whoever sent an original ransom note last week to the same TV station and other news outlets. It's also still unclear if either note was actually sent by the people behind Nancy's disappearance. The Pima County Sheriff's Office saying there's still no suspect or person of interest in the case. On Sunday, at the church where Nancy worships,
we pray for Nancy's rescue and her release.
The pastor delivering this prayer for her safe return.
And Lord, may she sense deep in her soul our prayers and our love right now, and prayers from this nation and all around the world.
And as the search continues, investigators are continuing to pour through all of the traffic camera footage in the area. They're also looking at surveillance footage from local businesses. A spokesperson for Circle K says authorities showed up at one of their businesses asking for the footage, saying that they had received a tip about a possible vehicle of interest. But at this time, there is still no confirmed vehicle of interest. And as you know, no suspect. Back to you.
All right, Liz, thank you. And now NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter is here to break down the developments over the weekend. Tom, you have been covering this every step of the way. Let's start with the new video that our colleague Savannah posted. What stood out to you about the words, about the tone?
Sure. Well, there's a lot that's said in that video, and there's a lot of things that aren't said. There's no reference to a supposed deadline of today. That appears to have changed. There's the word celebrate, but then there's no reference of proof of life. She's not asking for proof of life anymore. And so I think that this raises some questions as to what was in that second note from this alleged kidnapper, purported kidnapper, whatever you want to say. But we're picking that language very carefully and specifically because the FBI and the sheriff's office still have not said that they've confirmed this, that this second note is definitely tied back to the first note, and that either note is actually from the person who might be involved in taking Nancy Guthrie out of her house in the middle of the night against her will. So it's really a challenge here. Look, it makes sense that the family wants to continue the dialogue because it's one of the best leads that they have right now. You would do that too. But it just does underscore how uncertain this whole case is at this point.
We know that the authorities went back and revisited the homes of both Nancy Guthrie and her daughter Annie over the weekend. What might they have been looking for that they didn't see the first time they looked there?
Yeah, and of course, you know, as you can imagine, social media is always so measured. Everybody immediately thought, oh my gosh, they're focusing on the family.
Back
you know,
at the family.
Look, this is a consent search, meaning that they didn't go to the court. They didn't try to tell a judge, you know, well, we think there could be a crime here. We're going to sign out this warrant. None of that occurred. So the last people to see Nancy Guthrie alive were her family. It was specifically her sister Annie and her husband. Her husband dropped her off at the house, and she was at that house. Right. So you want to get as much information as possible. That's where your timeline really begins. Your timeline doesn't start with the disappearance. The timeline starts with who were the last people to see her alive, what was being discussed, what was said. Was there anything, you know, did Nancy say, you know, oh, I remember this, that this happened recently or something suspicious recently? And you want to try to get as much information as possible. So this gets us back here as we look at the timeline when Nancy traveled to Annie Guthrie's house. By the way, she got there by Uber. Police have already talked to the Uber driver. So these are all the normal steps of the investigation. They're focused on that. They were focused, obviously, on Nancy Guthrie's house. We saw some video there in Liz's piece from our drone overhead showing the FBI there collecting some more evidence, collecting evidence from the roof. And they were able to take Nancy Guthrie's car as well. Did whoever used this use the car? We've seen that before. There's a famous homicide case of the Brendells out of Rhode Island where you saw that the person who committed that crime was a family friend and actually used the family's car in the course of the crime. So it makes sense to just look at as much as possible. But I think it underscores where we are in this investigation.
Yeah, we talked about the car. I want to circle back to the fact that we don't know that these notes are legitimate. It could be anyone out there taking this situation and preying upon a person's worst emotions in the world. At what point do police find out, or how do they find out if this is legitimate?
Yeah, it's a job for the FBI. I mean, according to the TV station that received them, they came in from different IP addresses, but appear to be the same. A lot of steps are taken to figure out who actually sent them. And so they can layer certain types of browsers on top of each other, layer routers on top of each other, servers on top of each other. And so it makes it a real challenge. The FBI has the ability to do that, but that, as we've said over the past several days in discussing this case, that takes time. This case takes time. The cellular analysis takes time. So that is a process that requires both the human ability to kind of think out how this person could send it undetected, as well as a lot of computer horsepower. And it's just a process. And unfortunately, the family doesn't have time to wait for that.
Exactly.
They've got to respond now. So they're doing the best thing that they can.
Tom, thank you so much.
And we are all with them. We are all with their family. Thanks, Tom. In an exclusive Super Bowl interview with NBC Nightly news anchor Tom Yamas that appeared last night, President Trump said the country is already living in what he calls the Trump economy.
Yeah, he says it's showing up in lower inflation, job growth, and policies, and he argues it will bring down costs while blaming his predecessor for prices that many of you say are still too high.
Yeah, NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake joins us now with more. Garrett, good morning. When pressed on whether the economy is now his own, the president didn't hesitate. He said we are already there in the Trump economy, and he says the numbers back him up. Listen.
At what point is it on you? At what point are we in the Trump economy?
Oh, I'd say we're there now. I'm very proud of it, 5.6%. You know, we have a GDP of 5.6 despite a shutdown. We had a 42-day shutdown. I call it the Democrat shutdown. And because of that, I lost 1.5 points. I would have been at a 7 GDP, which hasn't been seen, I don't know, ever, maybe ever.
Yeah.
OK, you can look at GDP by quarter statistics if you want to see other periods of time when things have grown so strongly. But, Garrett, the president's pointing to this 5.6% GDP number. We know there's I don't want to go too much in the weeds here, but we don't have an official reading of that yet. He is very optimistic that the fourth quarter will just be a boom.
Christine, the president's not going to get much past our business reporter there in the anchor chair today. And I can only add that he's sort of notionally correct in the idea that the economy has improved, that the GDP numbers are getting better, but mathematically, factually off base with what are his estimates and sort of his, I think, almost hyperbolic hopes for what the next quarter's numbers will show. But I do think it's notable that you hear the president saying in the clearest terms yet that this is his economy. Typically, administration officials had been more willing to claim that title when the numbers are up, more inclined to put any negative numbers on a Biden administration hangover. I think the president saying that in front of the largest audience he's going to see probably ever in the White House is a sort of a flag planting moment for the economy moving forward.
Garrett, talk to us about how this message is playing in the battleground states where, I mean, all around America, but especially in those states, affordability is always top of mind.
Yeah, look, it'll be a while before we see any polling that's reflective of what people heard from the president last night. But generally speaking, his approval rating is underwater across the country, and especially on issues like handling of the economy and cost of living issues. There are some critical races in what are thought of as the traditional battleground states coming up in the midterms. There's a Senate race in Georgia, 2 of them in Michigan. There are big races in Arizona and Wisconsin and some of these other states. And so I think, those numbers could potentially be a weight on Republican candidates down ballot, but it's a long way to go until November.
Garrett, the risk is the more the president talks about 5.6%, which the average person doesn't even know what that means.
That's
they
right.
feel the grocery bill is what they feel, or he exaggerates about how much gas prices have come down. It just reminds midterm voters, wait a minute, that's not what I'm seeing. What's the Democratic response there?
Well, it's to highlight exactly that, Chris. I think you're going to see this effort from Democrats to say, yeah, but are you really feeling it? They will argue that the Trump economy benefits the people at the top of the income ladder, people like President Trump. They'll point to the sort of billionaire class. There's already this interesting sort of phrasing that you hear from some Democrats. I heard John Ossoff use it over the weekend, speaking of Georgia, talking about what he calls the Epstein class, the idea of a rich, connected, powerful elite that sees the maximum benefit from this economy and that the rest of the people get left behind. That's political messaging, of course, but it's kind of a line that I think you're going to see from now to November from Democrats.
All right, Garrett Haake. So it looks so beautiful behind you, but I bet it's cold. Thanks, Garrett. Nice to see you. Have a good morning.
This morning at the Justice Department, members of Congress will get access to unredacted versions of the Jeffrey Epstein files that have already been released to the public.
This comes as a group of survivors released a Super Bowl ad during last night's game demanding more transparency.
NBC's chief Capitol Hill correspondent joins us now from Washington with those details. Ryan Nobles, good morning. Let's start with last night's Super Bowl ad. The survivors say about 3 million Epstein files still haven't been released. The Department of Justice has now released 3 million documents from their 6 million total Epstein files. So a lot of numbers here, but the bottom line, they want more. What else did the survivors say last night?
Well, Jess, the big message that came through in that ad is that they don't want this issue to go away. They don't want the average American to just forget about the Epstein files, assume the Department of Justice has made good on its promise to release the files and move on. They're upset with the way the files have been redacted, what has been redacted, what hasn't been redacted, and the fact that there are 3 million files still waiting to be released that they may never see the light of day. So they're hopeful that this exposure that members of Congress will have today will help move that process along. But the survivors want to make it clear that they're not satisfied yet with what the DOJ has been able to produce.
Hey, Ryan, what are members of Congress looking for as they review these unredacted Epstein files this morning?
Well, it depends on which member you're talking to. But, for instance, Thomas Massie, who's, of course, the lead Republican who's been pushing for the release of this files, he went on his X account last night and asked his supporters to say what it is that they want him to go and look at, what's behind these black lines in these files. And he said he was going to take their feedback to try and figure that out. But there are certain emails in which there appears to be the names of powerful men who have been hidden without a clear explanation why their names would be hidden. I think you're going to see members specifically go to those documents. This will not be an easy process for them, though, Christine. They cannot bring in any sort of electronic device of their own. They're going to be looking at DOJ computers. These files are vast. There are so many of them, and they're going to have a short window of time in which to look at these files. So it could take some time before even these members of Congress get a full idea of what they're looking at.
And, Ryan, it's timely that Epstein's former girlfriend and co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, actually has a deposition before the House Oversight Committee this morning. Should we be expecting any answers?
The answer is no, Jess. She has said repeatedly that she's going to plead the Fifth today and not answer any of the committee's questions, so much so that the deposition is supposed to start at 10, and we've been told to be prepared for a post-game gaggle just 30 minutes later, which would be an indication that they don't expect this process to take very long. This despite the fact that Maxwell spent 2 days answering questions from the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. She, at this point, is basically clamming up. She wants to be released from prison. She's asking for clemency. She's asking for all these special benefits, and basically said she's not going to talk again until she gets some of those things she's looking for.
All right, Ryan Nobles in Washington, thanks so much.
All right, to weather now. Another exceptionally cold day across the Northeast this morning, where millions remain under weather alerts, with gusty winds making it feel even colder in some areas.
It's the coldest I have ever felt.
Yeah.
Meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us now with the very latest. Andrea, we gotta have a warm-up on the way.
We do have a little bit of a warm-up. At least it's not as cold as it was this weekend. This morning, we're still looking at frigid temperatures, temperatures that are still feeling below zero with the wind chill in Boston, also all the way down to Atlantic City. Look at Saranac Lake. Right now it feels 23 below. So it's still cold, but not as cold. We're expecting this afternoon temperatures to be around 10 to 15 degrees below average across the Northeast. And that's where the cold will be focused today. But we'll start to lose a little bit of its grip in the next couple of days. We're looking at highs of 36 degrees in Boston. In New York, we'll be close to 40 degrees. Which will definitely be a warm-up considering all that cold air that we had this weekend. Where we are not experiencing the cold temperatures, of course, is in the central and western part of the U.S. They're enjoying well above average temperatures. And the good news for the Northeast is that some of that warm temperature is going to be moving towards the east, and it's going to begin to moderate the temperatures in those areas. So we're looking at the warmer air today extending all the way from Tallahassee into Des Moines, Iowa, where temperatures are going to be 32 degrees above average with a high of 64 degrees. And look over in Texas, we're expecting highs in the 80s. So that area of the country, they're not complaining. And some of that warmth will extend into the mid-Atlantic, into even Charleston by tomorrow, where temperatures will begin to feel above average. And in the Northeast, will get close to average by midweek. Of course, with the warm temperatures, the low humidity, the gusty downsloping winds, that does create that fire weather condition that we're seeing in the high plains. So we do have some red flag warnings extending from Nebraska all the way down into Texas, parts of New Mexico as well. As far as the West Coast, the weather is staying active. We have some scattered snow that will be lingering over the northern Rockies. We do have some snow and some rain in the northwest. But tomorrow, we're expecting the system to move onshore over northern and central California, bringing heavy rain and gusty winds. We also have that heavy snow that will be developing in the Sierra Nevada. Up to 18 inches of snow is possible, and we do have the possibility of some localized flooding due to that rainfall.
Did you see how balmy it was in Santa Clara last night?
Don't remind me. It's over. It's over. It'll feel balmy in New York today at 30, though.
Reminder to everyone.
about that.
Forget about 40 this week.
Might as well go to the beach.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Let's bring in host of Front Office Sports Today, Baker Machado. Baker, good morning. Great to have you. Let's start with that Seahawks defense. One of the most dominant performances ever in a Super Bowl. Also the kicking and punting game. Walk us through how they were able to completely lock down that Patriots offense.
Yeah, good morning, guys. And Morgan really hit on a lot of that this morning. I mean, Seattle's defense was nearly unstoppable, sacking Drake May, the quarterback for the Patriots, 6 times last night. Also sort of highlighted the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, Mike McDonald, who at 38 is the youngest head coach to ever win a Super Bowl, who is also the defense's primary play caller. So a really incredible performance for all of them last night. And one thing I would notice about Kenneth Walker that Morgan was mentioning, obviously winning Super Bowl MVP, he told reporters yesterday his dad, for the very first time, was in attendance. He never goes to any of these games. He usually doesn't like to be around crowds, so that was a wonderful moment for him as well last night.
All right, running back Kenneth Walker III, now the latest Super Bowl MVP, he really gave the Seahawks the offensive boost they needed from start to finish. What impressed you most about his performance last night?
Oh, it's such a great point. I mean, 135 yards, Christine, on 27 carries. He absolutely was the Super Bowl MVP last night. And you could also make a good argument for quarterback Sam Darnold as well. He's had so many ups and downs throughout his entire career. Didn't start so well last night, but ended so great last night for the team. So obviously leading Seattle to the Super Bowl in his very first year with the team. It was an amazing performance for all the Seahawks, of course, involved last night.
All right, let's not forget the Patriots here. I mean, obviously not their best game, but they did really stun everyone watching by making it to the big game this year. They had just 4 wins last season, one of the biggest turnarounds in NFL history. So what are you expecting from the Patriots next year?
Look, both these teams likely are going to be one of the frontrunners to make it back in the Super Bowl again. Right now, the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl next year is Seattle. New England is in the top 5 from some of the sports books that I have been looking at. And look, and New England has a young quarterback, as we've mentioned, with Drake May. So they're going to be good for the foreseeable future. But right now, all the attention is going to be on Seattle. One thing I will notice, and I say to you guys, to watch this offseason for Seattle, the team likely will be sold to a new owner this next year. So having won the Super Bowl, does the team's valuation pass $7 billion, which would be a record for an NFL franchise?
All right, Baker Machado, thanks so much.
All right, much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, commercial craze. Brands spent record numbers on Super Bowl ads this year. Was it worth it? We've got the best ads of the night and the ones that might have missed the mark.
But up first, big win. Highlights from the Winter Olympic Games and a one-on-one interview with the first athlete to bring home a gold for Team USA. That's next.
We are back now with the latest out of the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. It was an intense opening weekend for Team USA. An already injured Lindsey Vonn fell on her first race, had to be airlifted to the hospital with a broken leg.
But her teammate Breezy Johnson ended up being the first member of Team USA to win gold competing in the same event.
NBC News international correspondent Claudia Lavanga is in Milan and joins us now with more. Good morning. So exciting. Let's start with Lindsey Vonn. She already had a torn ACL. Some were questioning whether she should even be competing. And then just a few seconds into yesterday's race, she crashed. What more do we know this morning? How's she doing?
Good morning, guys. Well, we're still waiting for an update from the hospital. What we know so far is that, of course, Lindsey Vonn already staged an amazing comeback by managing to race literally a little more than a week after she tore her ACL. But her race ended 13 seconds later. She crashed and tumbled badly multiple times, and it looked serious right from the start, guys. You could hear her screaming in pain in the broadcast. Then she was airlifted to a hospital, and then in the evening, the hospital confirmed that she was undergoing surgery for a broken leg, a fractured left leg. Now, while we're waiting for an update on that, we are kind of understanding a little more what could have happened there. There is a series of pictures from the Associated Press taken during that race that shows clearly that Lindsey Vohn's right arm got caught in one of the flags, and that is probably what caused her to lose balance and then led to that catastrophic fall and crash, guys.
Yeah, we are pulling for her this morning and hoping that she feels better, even though she's undoubtedly very disappointed. Claudio, one of her teammates, Breezy Johnson, though, won a gold medal for Team USA in the same event. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that's right. It was a day of mixed emotions. It was almost like half an hour of mixed emotions because right after Lindsey Vonn crashed, then the downhill race ended. And, of course, Breezy Johnson won the first gold medal for Team USA in this Winter Olympics. And perhaps nobody more than Breezy Johnson understands what went through Lindsey Vohn's mind and what is going through her mind and emotions today also, because Breezy Johnson missed her first Olympics back in 2022 after a week before the Olympics, very similar to what happened to Lindsey Vonn. A week before her Olympics in 2022, she also in Cortina on a training run, she injured her knee and she couldn't compete. So 4 years later, she's back on the same racetrack, winning the gold medal, making the story even more incredible, guys.
Really incredible. Claudio, thank you so much. Nice to see you there. Okay, amazing. Newly minted gold medalist Breezy Johnson and the pride of Wyoming. She joins us right now.
Speaking of.
Oh, my gosh. Hi, good morning and congratulations. I mean, my first question is, how do you feel? How does it feel to have the official title of Olympic gold medalist?
It's a crazy club that I guess I belong to. Doesn't feel real yet, but yeah, I mean, there's so many storied American gold medalists, and to count my name among them is pretty crazy.
Breezy, you've had a tough road to get here. As Claudio just reminded us, it was on this same course that you had a serious crash, ending your journey to the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. You said you worried at the time that your career was over. What were the nerves like here in Milan Cortina this year? Is this redemption for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely redemption. I think that, we race here every year. It's what we call classic track. We do World Cups here every year. Skiing is a little bit like Formula One. We have World Cups every weekend, and then every 4 years we go to the Olympics for one of those weekends. And so, Cortina is always a place that I've loved. I got my first top 10 here in World Cup, but I've had some tough luck with it since then. Obviously, with that injury, it was very brutal. And so to come back and be able to win Olympic gold here is pretty special.
You say it hasn't really sunk in yet that you're in this small club of these elite gold medalists. Talk to me a little bit about how the younger you was gunning for this. I mean, you have spent thousands of hours training all the time in your life to get where you are today. This must be such a pinnacle moment.
Yeah, I mean, when little kids were saying that they wanted to be president or a firefighter, I was like, I want to be a ski racer. And people were like, okay, weirdo. And, I've been working at this for as long as I can remember. And, I used to watch the Olympics so avidly, and to, have such a high result here is something that I think little me would have fully expected. But then having been on the journey longer, it's definitely been a lot different of a road than I would have expected. And so now it's definitely very surreal.
Awesome.
Breezy, we want to see the medal, but we hear that you broke it. So tell us how that happened.
Yeah, so they actually gave me a new medal because
awesome.
I was jumping up and down in excitement, and the bar that connects the ribbon to the medal ripped out, and then I had a ribbon and a bar and a chunk of metal and no longer had a medal. But luckily they issued me a replacement pretty quickly. I still have to go get it engraved, so mine is not engraved yet, but I did get a nice cardboard box to go with it now, so that'll be helpful for traveling.
I mean, she skis hard and she celebrates skiing hard. You know, this is a high-intensity athlete. The medal hunt isn't over for you.
I wasn't even jumping that high.
The medal hunt is not over for you, Breezy. You got more competitions lined up. We hear you have an unusual superstition before your races that involves knitting. What is your formula?
Yeah, so it started many years ago. I started knitting a new hat or headband for the finish at each race. Obviously, the finish areas are cold. Your hair doesn't look that great after you run. So so I started knitting these headbands, and I found that every time I knit a new one, then I did well. And when I tried to reuse an old one, it didn't go so well. So I obviously have been in a knitting frenzy at this Olympics. I finished that headband, which I have here, just the night before the Olympics, and I have some new ones to debut for the next events.
And Breezy, we imagine there are a few mixed emotions given your state of your teammate right now, Lindsey Vonn. Do you have a message for her that you want to share with America?
I think for me, I've been friends with Lindsey for a long time. I don't know that there's anything that I could say, on television that would make a difference. In my experience, it's, when you're injured in that state, it's the people that come back to you, the people that keep asking how you are, not on day one after your injury, but 2 weeks after your injury, 3 months after your injury, that matter the most. And so I'm here for her, and I wish her all the best. I think that, she's had such an incredible career, and I think everything that she's done with this comeback is still such a triumph. And I hope that she knows that and continues to remember that she's still an inspiration for so many people who, even like me, I want to keep going for a long time, and, would love to compete in Salt Lake. And I felt like that wasn't possible. And then she came back out of retirement, and I was like, maybe I can do that.
Gosh, Breezy, that's really wonderful advice for anybody going through anything. It's not just the I'm sorry at the beginning. It's following up. So thank you for that. That's amazing. And congratulations to you. It's we're just so proud of you and so happy for you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy that medal. And you can catch all the Olympic action on Primetime in Milan, hosted by Mike Tirico, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC and streaming on Peacock. Coming up, literary legal battle.
The major author's estate who's joining the fight against Utah's sensitive materials law that's been pulling books from library shelves. Next.
And we're back with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with lawmakers weighing big changes to some voting rules.
Yeah, NBC News politics reporter Megan Leibowitz has that and more. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Christine and Jessica, good morning. Yeah, let's kick things off on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers in the House Rules Committee are set to consider the SAVE Act tomorrow. Now, that means that we could see a vote on the elections bill as soon as Wednesday. Now, big picture here, the bill would change how elections work across the country, requiring things like voter ID and proof of citizenship in order to cast your ballot. Now, President Trump has been pushing for Republicans to Olympics, where President Trump took to social media to criticize Hunter Hess, who's a skier on Team USA. Now, the president called the Olympian, quote, a real loser, and wrote that it was very hard to root for someone like this. Up here for a second. This all comes after Hess told reporters that it brought up mixed emotions to represent Team USA right now. He went on to say that there's a lot happening that he's not the fan of, and just because he's wearing the American flag doesn't mean that he represents everything happening in the country. Finally, let's go to New York City, where former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to endorse Jack Schlossberg in the House primary. Now, that's according to a source familiar with the matter. Now, this matters because it's a pretty competitive primary in the heart of New York City. Also, Schlossberg is the grandson of former President John F. Kennedy, and he's cousins with RFK Jr. Now, that House seat is going to be open because Representative Jerry Nadler is retiring, and just this month, Nadler endorsed Assemblymember Michael Lasher in the race to be his successor. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning, guys.
All right, great to see you. Thank you.
Okay, the estate of late poet Dr. Maya Angelou is officially joining a legal battle against Utah's sensitive materials law. It comes after Angelou's autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It was removed from libraries in 2 Utah school districts. It's also under consideration for a statewide ban.
So Utah's state law, which was originally passed in 2022, allows public schools to remove and in some cases outright ban certain books based on vague criteria. The ACLU claims that Angelou's work is constitutionally protected literature, and removing it from shelves deprives readers of their right to access it, which is a violation of the First Amendment.
All right, for more on this legal battle, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, good morning. Okay, so Angelou's estate joined this lawsuit filed last month by the ACLU. It includes the estate of author Kurt Vonnegut. There's a couple of high school students, 3 other living authors, defendants, including the Utah State Board of Education. What do the plaintiffs have to prove to get a ruling in their favor?
This is generally an uphill battle. Courts will give a great deal of deference to school boards, local community members who are deciding what is going to either be in the library or be in the school curriculum. Although it's important to note that courts give a lot more deference to boards in deciding what will be in the curriculum. In other words, what is actually taught in the classroom, as opposed to what is simply sitting on the shelves in the library. And that's why you see a lot more of these challenges to what's in the library, because that is something that is easier to overturn a school board's decision. But here is the guiding principle from a Supreme Court case from many decades ago that really doesn't give us a whole lot of guidance, because it's what we call a plurality opinion. That means that there was really no majority opinion. So we've cobbled together the case law, and it's this. If there is vulgarity or something that interferes with the educational process, then it can be banned. But that does not mean that simply because you find sexual activity in the content that you have a carte blanche to ban the book as a school board, if the plaintiffs can show that other similarly situated books were not given the same treatment. So the bottom line is, it's a hazy, very fact-specific analysis.
So you call it hazy, you call it difficult, but not impossible. So what do they have to do to use this lawsuit to get a state law overturned?
So I think the biggest challenge for them is that as long as the school board can identify, and for me the easiest path would be vulgarity. That's the magic word in the plurality opinion. So if you have sexual activity, something like that, you might have a better chance at the school board at having your decision upheld. So the plaintiffs are going to have to show that this is a pretext, and what's really going on is this is an ideological piece of discrimination. This is a political discrimination. If they can show that the motivation is political, ideological, that it's focused on ideas rather than vulgarity or interfering with the educational process, then the plaintiffs have a chance. But I would just say, as a general proposition, school boards enjoy a fair amount of deference.
So Utah is just one of, I think, 30 states have bans of some sort like this, similar book bans or restrictions in place. A lot of these laws target books written by authors of color and books about sensitive topics like LGBTQ issues. Despite widespread challenges to these bans, the Supreme Court has refused to take up any of these cases. What do you think it would take for the Supreme Court to look at this?
I think that's what this complaint is trying to do. I think someone is trying to get this before the Supreme Court to make a decision. And it doesn't surprise me that the court is reluctant to take this on. There are a number of issues, say gun rights, other things like that, that are thorny. They're third rails. They're difficult to analyze. And it would be difficult to even create a precedent. Because imagine, I mean, the very essence of literature is that every work of literature is different from the other. Even this list of books we've been talking about. Kurt Vonnegut's works are nothing like Maya Angelou's works. So how do you possibly create a bright line rule going forward, even on issues of vulgarity, which not everybody agrees on what is and what is not vulgar. So this is a very difficult issue, and it doesn't surprise me. If I were a Supreme Court justice, I would want to avoid that during my term.
What's so interesting to me is if it's in a library, it's not part of the curriculum. It's not like they're making the kids read it. Somebody has to go there.
You can go on your own
ask for the book, find the book, check it out. You know, it's just they're kind of different than being in the curriculum.
But when you were in high school, didn't you go to the library and find all the books that were the closest to naughty that you could? That's what my friends and I did.
I may have looked for the Judy Blume books. I may have looked for the Judy Blume books.
Sweet Valley High for me, Danny Savalos. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, coming up, delaying dementia.
There is a new study out on digital games that may help slow the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia in older adults. Those findings next. We're back now with a new study out today that's raising hope in the fight against Alzheimer's and dementia, diseases that do affect millions of Americans.
Yeah, researchers say a type of brain speed training using digital games designed to sharpen how quickly the brain processes information. It may help lower the risk of developing these conditions. The findings come from a 20-year study of nearly 3,000 older adults.
NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us now with more. Dr. Azar, good morning. Thanks for being here on this important topic. For people who hear brain games, they might be skeptical. What are we talking about? Is this like my parents playing Wordle? And how effective are these games?
Yeah, so great questions. And I think what's important is that these study authors looked at 3 different types of cognitive training. One was the speed training, which we'll talk about in a second. And the other ones were memory and reasoning. Memory and reasoning training had no impact on the risk of dementia, but this speed training did. And specifically what these participants engaged in, they used an online tool. It's called Brain HQ. And the game that they played was something called Double Decision. This is where they visualized a car and a street sign, and then they went away and they had to remember exactly where they were. And what's different about this type of training and what experts say why this kind of training specifically could have had an impact is that it was adaptive, which means that the better you did, the harder the task got. And again, it's this sort of ability to information and visually process it quickly and accurately that could have some effect on what we call neuroplasticity, and that somehow had a benefit on the rates of dementia 20 years down the line.
Wow. Who could benefit from this? How early would someone need to start this kind of speed training for it to be effective?
Well, that's what was interesting, Christine, because the participants in the study were all 65 and older, and they had no evidence of cognitive impairment. However, we know that those changes, especially with Alzheimer's disease, can happen much, much earlier than that. So the experts have said, look, if you're in your 40s or your 50s, there is no reason that you can't do this. I said to my husband this morning, we need to start playing these games. It really was a modest amount. You know, the real experts will say like 90 minutes a week of cognitive training, but these individuals, they actually did much, much less than that. They did about 10 hours the first year, and then they did a booster of 4 hours 1 year later and 4 hours 3 years later, and it was enough to make a difference.
Yeah, I imagine every little bit helps. Dr. Natalie Azar, thanks so much.
All right, moving from health to hashtags, several tech titans are in the hot seat this morning as opening arguments kick off in a landmark social media addiction trial.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal has your Money Minute. Ali, good morning.
Good morning, Jessica. Yeah, a major legal moment for big tech here. Opening arguments begin this week in a landmark social media addiction trial with Meta and Google's YouTube accused of deliberately addicting and harming children. The case could shape thousands of similar lawsuits nationwide, with plaintiffs comparing the fight to big tobacco, while the companies deny the claims and say that they've invested heavily in safety tools. And staying with big tech, Apple is gearing up for a busy 2026. Bloomberg reports the company is kicking off a product blitz led by a lower-cost iPhone model, the 17e, along with updated iPads and new Macs. But even as the hardware pipeline heats up, Apple is still working through its AI strategy. CEO Tim Cook recently told employees the company is all in on AI, even as it reportedly scales back plans for a major AI-powered health coach. And a quick consumer note, Starbucks is betting on Super Bowl Monday. Rewards members can get a free tall iced or brewed coffee today with the purchase of a qualifying drink. The company is also rolling out a new 1971 roast to mark its founding year. It all comes as Starbucks looks to keep customers coming back to stores. So I love that they're saying you can get a drink when you purchase another drink. But hey, I mean, we were just talking about it. It's Monday. It's
We'll
Super Bowl
drink them
Monday.
both today.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
We'll go for it.
Ali, thank you. Coming up, betting big on the big game.
Yeah, the cost of a 30-second commercial spot in this year's Super Bowl, record high. Coming up, we've got some of the most memorable ads, as well as the ones that didn't quite land with viewers. Stick around, we'll be right back. All right, finally this hour, we're bringing you Super Bowl wrapped commercial edition.
Woo!
It's the one night a year when brands spend big for a chance to sell their story to Americans. This year, the average 30-second spot hit a record high, topping $8 million.
That's right. From AI to sports betting and snacks, this year's ads were loaded with star power. Some brands struck the right tone, balancing emotion, humor, and cultural awareness. Others missed the mark.
Chief Content Officer of Adweek, Zoe Ruderman, joins us now to break down which brands really packed a punch. Zoe, good morning. Nice to see you. Let's start with AI. Adweek's team live blogged commercial feedback throughout the game, saying some companies had unrealistic or unclear messaging, or in the case of Amazon's Alexa Plus, accurately capturing the anxiety many people feel about AI. The team even asked some chatbots to rate their own parent company's ad. What are some of the AI ads that stuck out to you?
I think by far the best AI ad we saw was Anthropic. And this one, it was timely, it was funny, it gave us something we could all experience. It was this commercial where someone was asking for advice, and then the chatbot wove in some not so great ads. And it was taking aim at their competitor, ChatGPT, owned by OpenAI, who announced a few weeks ago that they were going to roll out ads. So this one I found to be completely effective. And it really made me laugh. That one little moment where you ask a chatbot a question and then there's the pause and then the like, perfect, what a great question. They just captured that so well. And I think everyone could relate to this one.
All of our questions are always great, right? Well, this year, a few brands stood out for leaning into important cultural flashpoints. What were some of those messages?
You know, Dove was back this year. They often have a really great and emotional, pulling at your heartstrings ad. I actually found this one to be slightly less effective than in past years. Last year's, I got to admit, it made me cry. It was those 3-year-old little legs running down the street. This one, it was celebratory. It kind of felt like they were pulling from the same playbook, and I just didn't find it quite as exciting. That said, it was something that everyone was waiting for, and everyone celebrates this ad when it comes out.
Some brands took a different approach in their quest for entertainment this year, to having big-time Hollywood movie directors to produce their spots, like Top Gun Maverick's Joseph Kosinski. He brought that Michelob Ultra ad to life. What were some of the other spots directed by Hollywood talent? How does that actually help these brands stand out?
This was a huge trend this year. And keep in mind, this has been going on for years and years. I don't know if you remember in 1984, that really famous Apple commercial, that was directed by Ridley Scott. So this is not a new trend, but we saw it really grow this year. It was Spike Jonze, it was Taika Waititi. Yorgos Lanthimos actually did 2 Super Bowl spots, one with Emma Stone, which was really dramatic and sort of felt like a revival of what they've done together in the movies. This is, it's a draw because they're willing to do it. It gets people to tune in, but they don't have to be in front of the camera. So it's just another version of putting star power there, and you get kind of that cinematic moment.
One of your reports at Adweek leading up to the Super Bowl called the game the Wellness Bowl because of all the commercials about health and medical. Which had the most memorable and important messaging?
There were a few, and it was really interesting. Specifically in the first half, there were almost no commercials for auto, almost no commercials for consumer packaged goods, water, booze. It really was like the wellness and tech bowl. So we saw an ad from Novartis, which I thought was just fantastic. It was called Relax Your Tight End, and it was promoting the fact that you could screen for prostate cancer with a blood test. They used all of these NFL stars. It was really funny, really unexpected, and I love that it spread awareness. It really checked all the boxes that you want to check with a Super Bowl ad.
It was clever. It was very clever. All
it
right.
was.
Zoe Ruderman, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.